Welcome back to the Drop Bass Not Bombs podcast. I'm MC Unicorn. I'm here today with Looney Tunes. How's it going?
How are you guys? Thank you guys for having me. Super excited for this interview. So yeah, I'm doing great. Summer is in full effect in Holland, but it's a rainy, storming day today. So what's new?
It was horrible this morning, this storm. I was biking to the gym and there was like trees falling and like, it's cold. Like, what happened?
Dutch summers.
Yeah, typical Dutch summer. So I want to start first. Can you let everyone know a little bit more about who you are, where you're from, what do you do, what's your story?
Oh, my story. So my name is Jan. I'm from Holland. Artist name is Looney Tunes, LNY TNZ. So Looney Tunes without the vowels. Started making music back in the days with my ex-partner Mitchell. We started like in 2003. We had our official first release. It was also on vinyl, like a 12-inch record. So that's crazy. It's like 20 years ago. But then we were making music for a couple of years. Then we had a short break. I was doing my studies, went to college and stuff. Finished my degrees. Mitchell had a break. He did this stuff. And back in 2013, we decided to make some new music. And then back then we had an official new release that was Last Night Ever together with Yellow Claw. And that's now almost like 10 years ago. So that's also funny. And yeah, ever since 2013, I've been focusing on full-time music. So yeah,
that's amazing. And yeah, so much has changed since then, since 2013, 2014. And I remember that track really fondly. And a lot of like your guys' earlier tracks, like Get Fired Up, and all those songs were such party anthems for me back in the day.
Yeah, it was quite a challenge, to come up with original music, because back in the days in the hardstyle scene, there was a lot of sampling going on, like old records, old movies, old whatever samples, vocal samples from a movie, you name it. But I think we started making some original music, as in with original singers, songwriters, and that was quite a new thing, I think, in the harder styles. So, for example, Last Night Ever was like original something. Our follow-up was Fired Up with the chemist from Jamaica, but lives in Miami. Yeah, that was like a whole thing, like, wow, in the harder styles with a hip-hop vocalist, Jamaican reggae hip-hop vocalist. That was something crazy. And then we did the track Techno, Yellow Claw, Diplo, Waka Flocka Flame, Looney Tunes. That was also like everybody was like, what is going on here? Combining trap and hardstyle with hip-hop vocals, what's going on, So it was quite interesting back in the days. And yeah.
So looking way back in the day, so prior to 2013, prior to 2014, what's your earliest electronic music memory? Do you have a moment, obviously in the Netherlands, you hear it everywhere, but do you have a moment when you were a kid where you heard a record or a CD for the first time and you're like, this is my music, I want to become a DJ?
No, my dream was never to become a DJ, like.
Really?
Also don't like the name DJ, because I think when I meet new people or whatever, they ask me like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, I'm in the music industry, I make music. And then they're like, oh, you're a DJ. And like, to be honest, I don't think the word or the thing DJ is cool, because in my opinion, DJs, when you think about a DJ, you think about, of course, party, but drugs, alcohol, whatever, after parties. And I'm the opposite of that. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I drink tea, basically like a grandpa. No, but I've always tried to take this job very serious, and I've never been like drunk on stage or whatever. Of course, back in the days, once in a while I had a few shots when you meet the promoter or the guy who invited you to play, like to be polite, like, hey, welcome, and you take a few drinks. But I know my limits, One time I remember I had a few shots too much. That was an Electric Love Festival in Austria. But
that's happening now, actually. I think it's tomorrow it starts.
A few years back was yeah, but that's only one of the few experiences that I was like a little bit wasted. After that, like no drinks, no. Yeah, I just take it serious, you know. Like I don't want to be that drunk guy or whatever, you know.
So okay, so you don't prefer to be called a DJ. That's fair. I understand that. So do you prefer DJ, producer, artist, just
Like
Looney Tunes? Like what do you
I
prefer?
mean, the DJing part is only like an hour in the weekends, you know. Like the other 7 days a week, I'm working my ass off, like in the studio and making new connections, working out contracts, managing other artists, being creative. So much stuff going on, and then the weekend hits, and then of course you're traveling, and then the big moment is like your set, an hour set, an hour and a half set, and then you go back in the plane, whatever, and the whole week starts again, finishing music, studio, da da da. So the DJing part itself is only like an hour, or depends like how many sets you do in the weekends. But so I don't want to say like I'm a DJ, like I think it's more like I'm an entrepreneur in the music industry. Like it sounds a little bit more boring, but that's like that covers the whole thing I do, I think, you know.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think you bring up a lot of good points here that so much goes into this music that people don't see. And I think that's the point that we're trying to hit home here is that it's not just that hour that you play, it's all the hours in the studio and coming up with the concepts and the artwork and the lyrics and the collaborations and the contracts and travel. Like you travel so much too, you know, there's so much that goes into it.
When you combine all this, do you think it's a DJ or what's it called?
I would say an artist or entrepreneur.
Artist, yeah, or music entrepreneur. But the funny thing is, sometimes I meet guys, you know, and I'm like, hey, what do you do? I don't, and they're like, yeah, I'm a DJ. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they're like, they have a full-time job somewhere. They do this, they do that, and they only DJ for an hour in the week, you know, and they call themselves a DJ. But I'm like, yeah.
A DJ could also mean that you're like a wedding DJ too, or like a radio DJ. Like I listen all the time here in the Netherlands to like Slam FM and like the radio DJ. So it's like, what sets, you know, how do you, maybe there should be another word for it than just a DJ.
Yeah, but some guys think it's really cool to call themselves a DJ. They think they can get more girls or whatever. I don't know. It's like the DJ thing is only an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours in the week, or what I say, it depends on how many shows you have. And I don't want to, how do you say, like combine everything in one word as a DJ. I think it's more fair to call yourself like, what I said, an entrepreneur in the music industry. Or.
So do you have a moment where you decided you wanted to work in the music industry? Or did it all just kind of happen?
Yeah, it basically kind of happened because like as a hobby for fun, back in the days, we were making beats, making mashups, making like always working with music, going out to events. Really, back in the days, you had the site Party Flock in Holland. It's still up there, but it's not that popular anymore. But Party Flock was like the main calendar of all the events going on in Holland. And so you could select a city, you could see what events are in the city, what DJs are playing. Yeah, we are the few guys we were really looking up to as an artist or DJs back in the days. So we click on the name and we see like, oh, this guy is playing tomorrow in Amsterdam, the next day in Limburg or whatever. So we were just jumping in the car and going to see those guys because they had new music, which was not out there yet. You know, back in the days you had like MySpace, Hypes, MSN, Napster, and it was impossible to listen to the music anywhere besides in the club in their DJ set. So we were like really, when we were a fan of a track, we were just following this DJ to every gig to enjoy the tracks, you know. He was playing exclusive tracks.
Do you think it's crazy now that anyone could just take their phone and use Shazam and or Google a song, or, you know, because I'm 32 and I remember back in the day like watching MTV, waiting for that song or waiting on the radio, and now you just can Google it, you know?
Now that's what I kind of miss, you know, because back in the days when you heard a song, you were like, wow, what song is this? You didn't know the name or whatever, and then you were just hoping you were gonna hear the same song later that night, you know, or in a different club or whatever, and then you were running to the DJ like, hey, what song were you playing like 2 minutes ago, or what song are you playing right now? Some DJs were like a little bit shy or shady about it, like, yeah, they didn't want to say the title because they want to keep it exclusive, you know. And some guys were like, hey, this is the title, but it's not out yet, or I got it from a friend or whatever. So it was like a whole hustle, like, hey, how to get this track, or who do I reach out to, or whatever. And then sometimes even months later, 6 months, 7 months later, the song got released. And so there was like a crazy hype already about the song, and the DJs playing the songs in the clubs. And now it's just like, yeah, you Shazam, and basically when you're still in the club, you already find a song on Spotify, you know, like.
Yeah, you can already so there's pros and cons about that. Obviously back in the day it was a simpler time and there was more meaning to it, but I think from what I do from a work perspective now, because I write event reviews, it is handy to have Shazam, so I can already be writing the article. Than having to chase down someone for months. I mean, you wouldn't have the article in time, you know, but yeah, I do miss those days, and I can definitely see both sides of that. So you've been in the scene for a long time. How has the hard dance scene specifically changed since you first got into it?
When I first got into it, the songs were like 7 to 8 minutes long, you know, like an intro of 1.5 minutes, an outro of 2 minutes. And I think in the past 10 years, songs have become shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So my latest single, which is coming out this Friday, is gonna be the title is gonna be Rainbow, out on Dirty Works. I think the main version is 2 minutes and 29 seconds. So back in the days, it was like 8 minutes or whatever, you know, like. So it's yeah, the times, like, people don't have the attention anymore to listen to for 8 or 5 minutes to one song. Now it's all like fast, you know.
Do you think it's getting worse with apps like TikTok and Reels? Where
what I recently heard, which I thought was pretty interesting, like I spoke to a guy, a friend of mine, he has kids, and he's like, hey, my kids don't have the patience to watch a regular movie because it takes them too long, you know, like it's all like short, you know, like I'm used to go to the movie theaters or watch a movie or whatever, like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But kids nowadays, they after 10 minutes, that's already way too long for them. It's all like because of the TikTok information, like 10 seconds, 20-second reels or videos. That's a new thing, which is kind of interesting.
It is. Do you think songs are going to get shorter and shorter then? Like even shorter than 2 minutes? Like, okay, I know back in the day you had radio edits, right? Because on the radio, you know, you had to, but like, do you think, where do you see song lengths going in the next couple of years then?
I think back in the days, a radio version was tops 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I think, between 3 minutes and 3:30. And now recently I saw a song, it was 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I was like, wow, that's almost a minute shorter, you know, already. So, and I would never, if you asked me that like 10 years ago, like, hey, do you think that in the future radio songs will be 2 minutes and 10 seconds? I would be like, are you crazy? That's impossible. You know? But I don't know. It's an interesting development, I think. Yeah, maybe in the future songs are going to be 1 minute. I don't know, but I don't think so. But maybe, I don't know.
I think that's crazy. I think it's really interesting. I guess it does depend on the genre, because obviously if we look at like trance and progressive house, things like that, like the buildup is really important. And I can't imagine, I'm just thinking of Eric Prydz for an example. I don't know if you know him, but it's just his buildups are infamously known to be slow buildups. How could you do that in a minute? I could see for up tempo you could do like a minute song, but yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe it's more the commercial music, you know, but of course the underground stuff will be, it's like a little different. Also in techno, you have like super long build-ups. But even in the harder styles, what I said, like back in the days on the 12-inch records, yeah, the extended version was 8 minutes, 7 to 8 minutes. And now an extended version is tops 4 minutes. And sometimes even 3 something, you know, so that's already cut in half for an extended version. So that's interesting.
Crazy. Weird how times change. So speaking about different genres, you're known to take a fuck genres approach. You're mixing all different types of stuff together. Why has it been so important to you throughout your career to not put yourself in a box, not call yourself hardstyle or trap or.
Yeah, what I think was really annoying during the production process of a song or a track back in the days, there was like rules, you know, hardstyle is like this, kick, snare, clap, whatever, and it has to sound like this. And at some point we were making tracks and it's like, yeah, let's add something different, you know. And then some guys were like, no, 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 because that's not hardstyle. And later I was thinking like, yeah, it's not hardstyle. Like, why not, you know, like just do whatever you feel, what feels good, whatever you like, and try to be different. So that's also, for example, I think we were one of the first, or maybe the first, who were using hip hop vocals in real hardstyle trap stuff, you know, which was back in the days like, no, that's impossible. Hip hop and hardstyle is like two different worlds. They can never be combined or whatever. But yeah, so why would you limit yourself with like following the book, you know?
And I love that about you. And I have said that from the beginning too. Like I like a little bit of everything. Like anybody who looks at the music I listen to, it's like Melbourne bounce, hands up, jump style, trance, side trance, hard techno, and I'll listen all in one day, all in a row. I love that. A little bit of everything, you know?
Yeah, yeah, get the best parts of both worlds, you know, and bring it together and create something unique, something different, something standing out. And either the people like it or they don't like it, but at least I had fun during the production process. And that's also important, I think.
Yeah, you have to love what you do, definitely. Otherwise, it's really obvious when people don't love what they do. Like you can just tell when people are not happy, when people are miserable. And then it comes across in the work that they produce too. You know, you can tell, people can tell. I can tell.
Yeah. No, I still have a lot of fun making new music. I have an album coming up. I've been working hard during the pandemic, finishing up a lot of tracks. And so for me, the pandemic was kind of a blessing, as in I was so, I had all the time in the world to finish like an album. Of course, financially, it was not the best time, but whatever, money is just money. Money comes, money goes. But yeah, now I'm really happy. Everything is like back to normal. I don't remember the last time I heard the word Corona or pandemic. It's like nobody speaks about it anymore.
That's also crazy. That's also crazy that like it just feels like a fever dream. Like it just feels like it didn't happen. It was wild. I have similar views as you that like I took a bad situation and turned it into something good. I started a podcast. You know, I did a lot for Drop Bass Not Bombs. I started content creating. Like I took that time at home and did something productive with it, and I'm still doing it. And I did a million live streams like everybody else. It's just it's crazy to think, and then now it's like never happened. Everything is back, which is great.
Yeah, just lost like 3 years, but yeah, it was an experience.
Yeah, and you know, we made the best of it, and that's what matters. And now hopefully we can just move forward from here and keep on this path. Definitely. So at the beginning of the interview, you talked about how you were previously in a duo. And those of you who know, or people listening probably know that. What was that transition like, going from being in a duo to being a solo artist?
Yeah, so me and my ex-partner, we started this whole project together as a joke for fun, you know, like in Looney Tunes, like days we had a few songs, we put it out on MySpace as a free download, and we
Oh
didn't
my
even,
God, MySpace.
yeah, we didn't even have a real artist. We were just thinking Looney means funny, right? Funny, crazy, and tunes is like music, so we thought like Looney Tunes, funny, crazy music. That was like the basically the project name, and that was with the vowels. So at some point we were invited to play shows, and then we received the artwork or the flyer, and we saw like Bugs Bunny and Tasmania Devil on the flyer. We were like, oh yeah, it's not Looney Tunes as in the cartoons, but it's like Looney, like funny music, you know. So then back a few years later, when we released Last Night Ever with Yellow Cloud, was like a comeback for us, because we were on a hiatus for a few years, and so we were like thinking about a rebranding. Either we would come up with a completely new name, but that was like a challenge because people already knew us as Looney Tunes, you know, from back in the days of Jump Style period. So we were like, yeah, let's take out the vowels. It looks way cooler. And also, funny thing, after that, we were I can say back in 2013, we were the first artists in the scene, like with the name without vowels, you know. And after, like, so many artists showed up with the with the same ID, you know, which was funny. I was like, okay. And for us, it was just like whatever, you know.
Trendsetters. That's so funny. So, what's your favorite memory of your time as a duo with Mitchell?
Yeah, we had so much fun, you know, like in the studio, traveling, doing shows, all places in the world. Too many memories. Best memory. Ooh. Yeah, it's like so many. Yeah, it's always funny to meet new people from different backgrounds, new cultures. You know, eat different food. People are always super polite. They want to show. They want to show us the like the country, the cities where they live. Like, yeah, it's always been amazing. You know, so a lot of good memories. Too
Yeah,
many.
you guys traveled the world together. I remember the first time I saw you guys was like 2014, one of the either East Coast hard dance shows or badass raves when I was still living in the US. And I just remember taking a picture with you guys and you gave me a CD. I still have it, the CD, and had like Get Fired Up on it. It was the mixtape, the number one mixtape.
Classic.
And yeah, I still have it. And yeah, I remember hearing Fired Up for the first time. I think Carnage or someone played it at Tomorrowland. And I remember okay, Carnage. So I remember watching it and I'm like, what is this song? And I guess this was kind of also before Shazam and things like that. And I was like, what is this song? I love it. And then I was just waiting for you guys to release it. Like, come on, it's so good. And then finally it came out and you guys gave me the CD. So that would be my favorite memory of the two of you guys.
That's good to hear. Amazing, fun. Yeah, I remember Carnage. We received so many messages. I think back then it was on Facebook and Twitter, like, wow, what is Carnage playing? This song is crazy. The vocals are amazing. The drops are fire. So yeah, it was like a fun track. And also the production process and the creation of Fired Up is funny, you know, because we got introduced with the chemist because of Yellow Claw. Yellow Claw was already working with him. They had a few tracks out. And then Yellow Claw reached out to me like, hey, we have this singer we work with. They need a remix, but we don't have time to do the remix as a Yellow Claw remix. So are you guys interested to do a Looney Tunes remix? And we were like, yeah, let's do it. That was the first time we got in touch with the chemist and his wife, Nayanda. Nayanda is also a great, great singer and songwriter. We have a few tracks out with her as well. And I remember the very first demo of Fired Up. The title was Hands On. And the lyrics were something like, tonight I want to put my hands on you tonight. Oh, oh. So it was like more like a love situation story.
Whoa.
It's like, hey, I love the melodies, I love the ho-ho part, I love everything, but the topic of the topic or the subject doesn't really fit the Looney Tunes profile. You know, it's like too sweet or whatever. So we did 2 Skype sessions, I think, and we rewrote the whole song as in, yeah, Fired Up, like changed the title, Fired Up. I just want to put my hands on you tonight. It was like, tonight, yeah, whatever. But we flipped the whole concept, you know, so.
I love hearing. Thank you for sharing that story with me. I like hearing the history of that because, yeah, like I said, I'm a huge fan of that song. Wow. I'm just thinking, like, what would the world have been like if it was like a romantic song? You know,
I'm not I'm not active on TikTok at all, you know, and I must say I'm a little bit struggling with all the TikTok what's going on at the moment. But there's quite a lot of stories I have to tell about songs from the past. Like I was recently in where was I, in Vegas, and I was in the car with a few guys. I was playing some music, or they asked me like, "Hey, do we have any new music coming out?" So I played a few tracks, and then they were like, "Yeah, my favorite track, also Fired Up and So Easy." So I was in the car and I had my Dropbox open, and I accidentally from Dropbox I played the wrong version of So Easy. So they were like, "Huh, what is this?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is one of the first drafts of So Easy." They were like, "Wow, how the fuck? It's so crazy to hear." And like every song which is out, that we have a very first version, which is basically completely different than the final version, you know. So maybe I should do something on TikTok with the before and after or whatever, like.
Do it. Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that. That would be really cool. I think people would be interested to see that. And like diehard fans, they like to know the creative process and they love to know little like nuggets of information like that, or like what it would have been. And then you can ask people, which version do you like better? Like, do you like version 1 or version 2? That'll be interesting to see what they say. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I found it. I found it. I have it here.
Okay.
The very first version, and the demo is from 2013, I think. Let me see. Oh, wait, I need to download it first. Give me 1 second.
Sure, no worries. This is cool. We've actually never played music on the podcast that I can remember. So this is great. This is the first time. And this will be the first episode of season 3. I didn't mention that in the beginning, but that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but let's try.
Okay.
Turned up, never turned down. Palms to the sky till we fall out. We burn up, we never burn out. Yeah. So what are we waiting for? We got a good thing going, going. Let's keep the good times rolling, 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 rolling. And tonight I get that feeling, yeah, it's right. You brought my darkness out tonight. Won't stop till I make you mine. Hands on you. It's our the light. Make you mine. All I want to do is hands on, hands on.
First version.
That is it's crazy. I have to like that was good, but like obviously Fired Up fits more with you guys, like you said too. Like, you know, then put my hands on you. But like that's crazy. I have chills like that. It is crazy just to hear it from the lyrical perspective.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
So many songs with the very first versions, and that's pretty cool. Sometimes I listen to them, I would go, yeah, wow. But that's not how the people, the crowd knows it, you know. So
Wow. Do you think would you ever do, okay, you mentioned on TikTok, but would you ever do in a set, like, would you ever re-release any of your tracks? I guess that's my question.
I mean, Fired Up has been almost out for 9 or 10 years. I think 2014. So
I'm getting old.
Yeah, crazy. And last year I released a Fired Up Hard Mix. So it was basically what I noticed, like Fired Up, one of the biggest Looney Tunes popular hits or whatever. Yeah, ever since it came out, I have to play it in every show, because when I don't play it, I get messages like, wow, why didn't you play Fired Up, of my favorite, blah, blah, blah. At some point I noticed like kicks are not like, they don't fit in my set anymore. So about 2 years ago in the studio, we decided to do an update the kicks, everything. And then I had like a new version for my sets. And then I would notice like, wow, this really goes super hard. So let's make it an official release, you know. So I reached out to the Yellow Claw guys, because Fired Up was released on Barong Family. I'm like, hey, I have an updated version and it goes really well on my set. So let's share it with the people, you know. And so we decided to add a bunch of more remixes. And then the Fired Up remix EP came out with the hard mix as a #1. And yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's funny. People like expect it. I know I saw you in Miami and you played it. I was jumping around for that. I think we did a sit down for that one.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You're like, yeah, I love a good sit down. That's awesome. So you've collaborated with so many artists. You've already mentioned a few. Is there one artist that you would like to collaborate with in the future that you haven't had the opportunity to, or maybe someone who's passed away that you in another lifetime would like to collaborate with?
I always wanted to work with Paris Hilton.
Oh, perfect, because I'm actually going to Tomorrowland. Maybe she's going to be there.
No, that's a joke.
Oh,
but
man.
Honest, there's a bunch of, like, I've been a fan of so many, like Coldplay, UB40, Michael Jackson, of course, Celine Dion, great voice. So yeah, bunch of artists I would love to work with, but yeah, never say never, you know, like.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I mean, you
I
had a good list.
love Travis Scott. Uh, yeah, so it's like too many people I would love to work with, and I think we can make something super different, super crazy, you know, like super out of the box. I have a track coming out hopefully this year with Lil Jon, so that's exciting.
Oh, I love Lil Jon. Like once again, like I'm a 90s and early 2000s girl. So like, all the school dances in America, Get Low. Like,
So he's like a legend
classic.
also, you know, like OG.
Hmm.
As a kid, I was a fan of his music already, and then like we've been working on this track for a while, and it's fun to discuss ideas with him, you know, on the phone and FaceTime, and yeah, that's quite cool, you know.
Have you met him in person?
If I met him in person once, but that was before we collaborated. So I'm probably gonna meet him this year here, either in LA or Vegas, but we have to make it happen.
So how does it work with these kind of collaborations? I'm not a producer. I do MC a little, but I'm not a producer. How does it work? So who comes up with the idea first? You get on the phone. Like, can you walk us through that process? Because I have no clue how it works.
Yeah, so I was in touch with him already for a while. I think on Twitter, he sent me his email like, hey, whenever you have any heartbeats, just send them to me. And if I feel them, I can try to record something. And then like 2 years ago, I thought like I had something which would fit him. So I sent it to him and he's like, wow, this is crazy hard. And 2 days later, he sent me like a rough demo ID, vocal demo. So I put it in the track and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I sent it back to him. And he's like, yeah, this is amazing. It's super simple, super catchy, slightly cheesy maybe, but yeah, it works, you know. So I have 3 versions, like a rave version, like with the old school rave sounds, more like a house version and a deep house version. So it's quite experimental, but that's what I love to do. So hopefully it will come out this year. We're working on some paperwork, so yeah.
That's so cool. Well, I really hope he can perform live with you one time. That would be
Yeah.
so cool. Okay, well, I have to come. That would be awesome. I'm just picturing that, like, especially, I don't know, somewhere like Miami would be really cool, or DEF CON.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh my God, Lil Jon at DEF CON. I can't imagine. That would be so cool. Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I would love to see you guys perform live too. Speaking of your live performances, they're always so high energy. Like I said, I've seen you play in the Netherlands and both in the US. How do you engage with the crowd while staying true to your musical direction and to your sound? How do you balance all of that?
What do you mean? Like,
So when you're on stage, how do you balance, the tracks that you're going to play, engaging with the crowd, balancing what songs you want to hear, what songs people want putting in fired up because people want to hear it,
there's a
etc.
bunch of songs I know that people want to hear,
Yeah.
so I have to play them, you know, and of course, I love to play them. But basically, my sets are 95% of my own productions, you know. So back in the days, it was more like 50-50, 50% own tracks, 50% of tracks I really like from other artists or whatever. But nowadays, I also think when promoters or festivals book you, they book you because of, I think, yeah, your music. But nowadays, I have my doubts because sometimes they book just influencers because they're an influencer, you know. But I see myself as my main thing is making music. So whenever I get booked, I perform my own music because that's what I think the people like to hear when they buy a ticket, you know. So I try to make some mashups of my old songs or whatever and give the people some exclusive versions during my live shows. What I noticed in Holland, that there's so much going on. There's a lot of tracks being covered, you know, 80s, 90s tracks, 2000 tracks, like classic hits with a hardstyle kick. And I must say it works whenever you play them live, but it's still for me a little bit like, a little bit not cringe, but you know, it's so easy, you know, like I can make 10 versions of those tracks in a day, you know, it's so easy. So it's not a lot of fun, I think, in the production process. I'm more of a fan of making original music, which hopefully will turn out into classics one day. You never know, you know. But that's for me more like a goal. And of course, I did some remixes of classics, Happy Together, yeah, you name it, and they work well when you play them live. Everybody sings along, you know, so that's fun. But yeah, it's like it doesn't come from yourself, you know. It's just a new version, a different version of an old classic, which is amazing, which is cool. And but I think it's more like an achievement when people sing along to your own original music, you know.
Yeah,
That,
definitely.
that's just me.
No, I agree with you too. And I wonder that too about trends in the hard dance scene. And it's so easy these days to just hop on TikTok and copy a trend, or, you know, this for a while, everyone was doing like the side drop, you know, the side trance drop in hardstyle. And now it's like the fake drop in up tempo. I was actually just having a discussion about it in the car that like is so a couple fake drops is great. I get surprised too, but if it's like fake drop after fake drop, it's like, okay, now it's not fake anymore because we are expecting that it's not happening, you know. So it's really easy in the scene. I've talked a lot about this on the podcast too, to copy trends, to copy other people. So it's really cool what you're doing, that, you know, you've done from day one, is like the fuck genres thing and like your own sound. And of course it's fun to remix the classics. We love a good sing along in this scene. We love to boo boo boo, you know, love to sing.
People love it, so you have to give them what they love, of course, you know. But I try to make something original also with a sing along part, and that's my goal, you know.
Definitely. Well, we sing along to Fired Up, that's for sure. And Love Me Till It Hurts and Last Night Ever, you know, all those. I sing, so.
You sing along so easy, or?
Me, yeah. Well, I'm not a singer. Let's get things first. I'm not a singer. But yeah, I'm a big karaoke fan. I do karaoke every year for my birthday, pretty much, with the exception of Corona because I could not. But yeah, I sing. Like when I'm emceeing, I do not sing, obviously, because again, I'm not a singer. And the Mouth of Madness was actually my mentor for emceeing, and he told me, you know, one of the first things, like, don't sing. He's like, and actually Rob G told me this. He was like, don't sing unless it's your own song. Like, don't ever like sing into the, you know, sing into the mic unless your own song. You can repeat, you know. So I might say like, all right, guys, let's get fired up or whatever. But yeah, don't ever. So no, I don't sing, but I'll sing in the crowd if I'm just partying. Yeah, sure, I'll sing. Okay. Definitely. So we've talked a bit about, you know, I've seen you in the US, I've seen you in the Netherlands, you're back and forth. I always want to hear from Dutch people, what is crazy to them about playing in the US? I mean, you're in the US a lot, but what would you say is like the biggest difference between the Dutch scene and the US scene?
For me, the how do people show up to a festival, you know? In the US, it's like a total, like, nothing is crazy enough. The girls, they show up super sexy, cool outfits, like glitters, whatever. And in Holland, it's basically girls or guys, whatever. They show up in jeans with a t-shirt, or most of the guys not even a t-shirt, you know, like, yeah, whatever, which is fine, of course. But I like the time and effort and energy that people do in the US before they go to a show or a festival.
Yeah, I would say that too. So I was at EDC Orlando and I did like the rave braids and the glitter and the makeup and multiple outfits, and it's a lot. It's a commitment. And then in the Netherlands, it's much more casual. It's track pants and a shirt, you know. I'm going to Awakenings this weekend and I have a couple outfits, but it's not like the US is next level with the outfits. And also,
you know, it's like a whole thing, you know, like it's like a mini carnival or whatever, like. But yeah, so I really appreciate also what I notice a lot in the States, that people, the diehard fans, they make like custom make t-shirts with your logo or photos of your whatever, of artworks on their t-shirt. Super, super fun, you know?
Yeah, that I like that too. I used to try to make shirts, like print stuff on shirts, but like I'm not a graphic designer, so it never came out good. But yeah, I appreciate the effort. So do you ever adjust your sets depending what country you're in? For example, would you play something totally different to an American crowd than a crowd in China or a crowd here?
Yeah, basically, I just have a set for Holland and a set for the rest of the world, basically, because what I still can play and love to play is like trappy influenced tracks. So in the US and in Asia, they still really work well. But in Holland, if you play any trap situation, like people are looking at you like, what are you doing? You know?
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Like there's so much. Yeah, I was at DEF CON 2 weeks ago, or when was it? 2 weeks ago. And I've been listening to some sets, like not the full set, but just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And nowadays, yeah, it's just like, it's so hard and rough and like, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, I don't know what, like, what does, why would people like it? You know, it's, for me, it's just a kick, and like the crazier the kick, the wilder the crowd goes. But I try to understand, like, if I show a track like this to my parents, they're like, "Hey, the speaker is broken. I can't hear nothing." Like, you know what I mean? Like, but maybe you can explain me, like, what feeling does it give you to?
Yeah. I was just laughing, thinking to myself, because I love up tempo and I love terror and I love GPF and the peep kicks and the.
I love to see it like for a few minutes, and I'm like, "Hey, this is crazy. It's fun." But for an hour or 2 hours, I would be like, "Whoa, that's crazy."
I could do a whole day of it. I could do a whole weekend of it. I wonder what that says about me as a person. I guess I could speak a little bit about I'm an anxious.
For example, for like a peep kick track, or like a song like Fired Up or So Easy, or name any other hardstyle anthem song. Like, what's the difference for you in energy, like in experience in?
So I love, like I said before, I love all different genres of electronic music. I only listen to electronic music, but I love all different genres. You know, you will see me at A State of Trance, see me at Ultra, EDC Orlando, Awakenings, Tomorrowland, etc. You'll also see me at a GPF show. There's different genres and moods for everything that I'm feeling. I'm a crazy person. I'm anxious. I'm manic. I'm all over the place. I also work really hard in my day job, my full-time job. So when I'm out there on the dance floor, sometimes I want to just go crazy. The inflatable penises of GPF and like water guns or terror, like just I want to go crazy. And then there's other times where I want to listen to Above and Beyond and just weep, just like let it
on yeah.
It depends on the mood, and there's a mood for everything, and my mood could change throughout the festival. For example, like if I'm at somewhere like Mysteryland or Tomorrowland, like I might go over and see Eric Prydz, and then I might go over and see Armin van Buuren, and then I might see Lil Texas. I might, it just kind of depends on how I'm feeling. And then also now, because I work in the scene, it also depends what I need to do for work. Obviously, if I'm there for EDM House Network, I need to cover Marshmello and Timmy Trumpet and Tiesto and the big guys. If I'm there for Hardstyle Mag, that I'm there for the hardstyle or make combination of the both. But I think for me, it depends on my mood. I think speaking for other people, I think it goes back to what we were saying before with the short attention spans, right? And TikTok is like, instead of building up to this kick, people just want the kick, and it keeps getting harder and harder. I actually noticed that Intense Festival this summer. I went to Intense in 2015. I saw you guys there. It was a hardstyle festival then. It is not really a hardstyle festival now. It was mostly up tempo and raw style, and this is just my opinion, but it has changed. The scene has changed,
especially in Holland, I think, right?
Yeah, especially.
So do you think if you have one stage, do you think it can work with a Lil Texas, the GPF, and Above and Beyond, and Eric Prydz or whatever on one stage? Do you think that could work?
No, from for me, maybe, but from an organizational perspective, no, just because I think that attracts such different crowds. I think the majority of people who like Above and Beyond are not gonna like GPF. For the like maybe one song, like Frozen or what's the one, the Moana one, How Far I'll Go, like those kind of songs, because everybody likes those movies. But some of their other songs, some of the names of the songs I won't even say on the podcast because they're so inappropriate. But those kind of songs, I don't think so. No, I don't. I can't imagine though, especially with Eric Prydz with the hollow, with like if it was like the whale, and I don't. What do you think? You think no? It's crazy.
Maybe it's a little bit, it's like a little bit too crazy, like, but I like combined or mixed lineups, you know, like
Me too.
it's something like a roller coaster, you know, like, yeah, it's interesting.
It is, yeah, it is interesting, and I'm wondering, people listening, like, feel free to drop a comment or to slide into our DMs and let us know what you think about this topic. And I do think to myself a lot, like, how did we get here as a scene? How did we get to like peep kicks and zag kicks and like how did we get here? I'm here for it, but like, how did we go from bringing it back full circle to these 8-minute songs? Where, I guess, going from everything we just talked about, where do you think the hardstyle scene is, or the hard dance scene is going? Is it going to be all terror and speedcore soon, or is it going to be, are we going to go back to basics a little? What do you think? Where are we headed?
Yeah, for me, I think like a lot of people see me as a bridge between EDM and mainstream dance music and harder style music, you know, because there's a lot of, if you look on the YouTube comments on a lot of my videos, you see really comments like, wow, I never liked hardstyle, but after listening to your music, I'm kind of open to it and exploring and that. And a bunch of people, sometimes fans after my show, they come to me like, hey, because of you, I like hardstyle and that, which is kind of cool. So then I'm like, wow, how like hardstyle is of course also big, you know, you have so many niches like uptempo, raw, whatever. But it's nice to bring people from mainstream music to give them a little taste of the harder EDM or the hardstyle stuff, you know. But where it's going, to be honest, I don't know. It's challenging, it's interesting, it's fun. For me, I always love to work with catchy vocals, sing-alongable vocals, more party-related vocals. So that's still the direction I love to go. Yeah, so I'm just basically focusing on myself. You know, I don't listen to a lot of other hardstyle music, to be honest. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So yeah, I don't try to copy other stuff or whatever. So I'm just focused on my own. I'm in my own bubble, you know. And what I said, my album is gonna be interesting. Some trappy stuff, some old school Looney Tunes stuff, some new stuff. So it's gonna be a fun mix of everything.
Nice. And we'll link to all of that when it comes out, definitely. I mean, that's what we've been talking about this whole time too, is like mixing everything together, a little bit of everything. There's something for everybody. And yeah, do you think you would ever dabble in like trance and or above and beyond Sun and Moon remix, something like that?
I don't know. Never say never. I appreciate all music, all artists. I respect the people, how much time and effort they put in their projects. You know, it's like working really hard. And especially in the pandemic, I saw a lot of people, heard a lot of people, they had like panic attacks, like they didn't know how this would end. But I'm happy everybody's recovering. Things are going well. Festivals are selling out, I think. So yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I went through a phase during the pandemic, and I talked about on my podcast, I think with Mouth of Madness, where like I didn't think it was going to end. I thought we were going to be stuck. Well, I kind of have to tell myself things sometimes so that I'm like pleasantly surprised, like think that things are going to be the worst, so that I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like there were some moments during the pandemic where like, will we ever, just watching after movies on repeat from festivals, like, will we ever have DEF CON again? Will we ever have Dominator again? Like it was it was definitely a rough time. There were definitely times where like I didn't know if we would come out of it.
Yeah, it was crazy, kind of scary, but I'm happy everything is back to normal. So
me too. So on this podcast, we talk a lot about mental health, and it's come up kind of a couple times already in this conversation. But how do you find balance between touring and producing and all the things that you do and your mental health? So you talked a little bit about drinking tea and avoiding, substances and alcohol. Do you have any other tips or things that you do to keep that clear head?
After all the shows I do after the pandemic, I try to take more time, like relaxing at one of the destinations. If I have to go to Bangkok, I never arrive on the day of the show. Back in the days, we used to arrive day of the show, rush to the hotel, quick shower, quick dinner, to the venue or festival, do the show, early morning flight back to wherever we had to go. Now I try to come, for example, Bangkok. I arrived like 2 days prior to the event, just adjust a little bit, enjoy the city, the food, relax, yeah, chill a little bit more, you know. And for the long run, I think that's better. I love to travel. I love different cultures. I love different food. I always try to go to different restaurants. Yeah, explore stuff, you know. So that's what keeps me going. I don't drink. What I said. Sometimes I have a drink, but occasionally, you know, I don't smoke, no substances. So just try to stay focused, make good music, do good shows, and yeah, enjoy life.
That's amazing. And I think that's good advice because it is really hard in this scene, you know, as an artist, but also as an industry professional to balance with mental health. And we've seen, unfortunately, you know, we lost Delete. I think that was last year, 2 years ago. We lost Avicii, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
It's really tough. It's a tough industry and there's a lot of pressures and also like it's not the healthiest of industries, you know, all the parties are at night, you know, or like all the travel and tight bookings too, you know, and we saw that with Avicii, like he was just all over the world and it took such a toll on his mental and physical health.
And he was doing something he didn't like, right? Like he didn't like to perform, he didn't like to play, he was super nervous, he was drinking because he was nervous. That's crazy. Like I like to play, you know, like I love to perform my music. But I can understand back in the days, this is funny. Like back in the days when we started, I was super nervous before performing a show. And after a while, like it was like you were not even thinking anymore. You were just doing, you were not even enjoying the show. But after the pandemic, my first shows, I was noticing myself, I was kind of nervous again, you know, like I was like, oh wow, because it's been so long I was performing. So that's what I kind of liked, like the having the little nerves again, you know.
Yeah, it was crazy going back to live events again. I remember the first like big actual event I went to after the pandemic was Reverse in Belgium. And I went with Hardstyle Mag and I got super anxious too. And usually I'm good in crowds. I grew up in Yankee Stadium, basically in New York. Like I'm used to the crowds and Times Square and things like that. But yeah, I was like really, I walked in the crowd. I was like, oh my God, there's so many people. Like, where are the lockers? Like I lost my eco token already. Like now I need to pay for a cup. What do I do? It's like really, yeah, it was like weird because you get so used to doing stuff every weekend and then you don't have it for 3 years and you're like, what do I do with myself? Crazy time. So I just have 2 more questions for you. This is the question that I ask all my guests on the podcast. How do you rave for a cause or party for a purpose in your life?
Just love to spread good vibes, you know, like good music. I would like to have the people to have a great time, you know, because a lot of kids or fans who come to a show during the weekends, they're struggling in their personal life. They go to school, they're studying, they're whatever their background is. And at that moment during my set, that 1 hour, I just want to give them a good time, forget about whatever shit they're going through or whatever. And yeah, that's kind of the spirit I have, you know, like good vibes, good music, making memories, and yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the most amazing things about the scene is like you can just go into the club or go into the festival and just put it doesn't matter if you got into a fight with your partner or like, you know, you have money problems, life problems, whatever it is. And I've had that too. There was a festival I went to this summer and I was kind of stressed about a lot of things going on. And I think Sick Mode was playing and he's one of my favorite artists. I just ran into the crowd and just like went crazy and just didn't think about any of this, didn't think that it took me like 3 hours to get to the festival and like an interview I was supposed to have got canceled and I there was just a big massive things happened and I was like, I'm just gonna unwind and dance and have fun and it was great. And then I was able to like, okay, now I'm ready to get back to work.
Yeah. It's all about the good times.
Yeah, and amazing people and
the best out of it.
Totally. So last question, where can people connect with you online? Where can they find you and your music?
Of course, LNY TNZ, all social media, just LNY TNZ, which stands for Looney Tunes. Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, SoundCloud, you name it, and I'm there. I try to be there.
MySpace.
MySpace. Wow. Is it still up? I haven't checked the site for a long time.
I don't know. I wish I could still see my page because I put a lot of time and effort into that when I was young, and like my top 8, and like I had music when it came to it and stuff. I miss those days.
That was fun, right?
A good time.
So yeah. Thank you, Amy, for your time, for your interview.
Thank you so much for today. It was great catching up with you again. I'm glad we got to do this. And yeah, I hope to see you again really soon. Thank you so much.
Either in Holland, either in the US, but our paths will cross rather sooner than later.
All over the world, definitely. We're both all over the place. So I'll see you definitely soon. Thank you so much for today. Bye. Bye, guys. So that was my episode with Looney Tunes. It was so much fun catching up with him and finally having the chance to have him on my podcast. As you guys may have heard, we've been friends for a really long time. I've been a big fan of his music, and it was so cool to hear the original version or the other version of Get Fired Up, because that's honestly one of my favorite rave songs of all time. So really love this episode. Hope you guys loved it too. And as you guys heard in the episode, we're now in season 3. Woohoo! So it's been 3 incredible seasons of the Drop Bass Not Bombs podcast. And it's crazy to think that since its inception in 2021 during Corona time, that fever dream of the pandemic, it's crazy. We've had an amazing lineup of guests across multiple industries. And looking back on the last 2 years, it's been quite a journey. So from the very first episode, of course, during Corona time, very simple setup. I was recording from my attic in my old house, and to look where we are today. And, we were even nominated for the Hague Media Awards, which was so cool. We made it to the top 10. And then, of course, being on multiple podcasts, such as the Rave Culture Cast, Productivity Meets Party, the Babs Life podcast, and then most recently, the Boss Sauce podcast. So it's just been really cool to spread the Drop Bass Not Bombs love, across all these platforms and through all these different podcasts. I'm really excited for season 3, and I'm looking forward to see what the future has in store for Drop Bass Not Bombs. And thank you guys so much for supporting me and supporting the podcast. So before we close out, I just have a couple of announcements. So as most of you guys know who have been listening by now, the podcast schedule has changed now from being twice a month. It used to be twice a month, and now it's going to be once a month. So I know that's sad, but unfortunately, it's just not possible. I can't do more than 1 episode a month. It's not feasible to do it anymore. As you guys have heard me say 1,000 times, I have a full-time job. I work for Hardstyle Mag, EDM House Network. I have MC Unicorn, and then I have a second podcast as well. But I will be hosting the Wednesday night live still on Instagram. So that's kind of like a mini podcast, that's like about 20-ish, sometimes shorter minutes, about different topics. So you guys will still be getting that every week. And then in addition to, the monthly episodes, and then my other podcasts too. So just so you guys know about that. But now some brighter news. I'm happy to finally announce the winner of the digital design contest. So if you guys are watching here on YouTube, you can see the photo of the winner. So this is the design that's going to be on all of our merchandise. So I'm really excited about that. Merchandise will become available really soon. I'll give you guys all the information on where you can purchase it, what kind of designs, styles, shirts or crop tops, bags. But yeah, we're changing things up. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is the original design. So we've changed it up a few times. This was from, I think, 2017 when Drop Bass Not Bombs first started, even before it was a podcast, when we were hosting live events. So it's really cool to see, logos change over time and designs, and kind of going from just your normal V-neck black tee to different types of clothing that, everybody likes to wear. So that's really exciting. So next up, my next announcement is my full review of Forbidden Island Festival in Croatia is now available on hardstylemag.com. I also did a recap on my Wednesday night lives. Also, if you go to my Instagram, you can see a lot of content, reels, stories. It was an amazing time. It was so much fun. 4 days of up-tempo and Frenchcore. So my favorite music with my favorite people and beautiful Pag Island. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see some photos here. Croatia is beautiful. It's probably one of my favorite vacation destinations. I love wine. I love olive oil. I love honey. And yeah, I had amazing food. Like I said, great music, good friends. And I also got to spend, before the festival, a little bit of like chill time in Zadar, which was really cool. I'd never been there before. And then at the end of the trip, one day in Vienna, which was awesome too. I got to have Wiener Schnitzel, which I love. And yeah, I get to see Vienna a bit. So it was a really great vacation, but also, of course, coupled with making content, and it was really cool to be back in Croatia, working there again as an official ambassador, and then also, of course, to write for Hardstyle Mag and to cover everything on social media. So I have a lot more festivals coming up and events, but stay tuned for that. Follow me on Instagram to see that. I also have Dream Village, Amsterdam Dance Event, EDC Orlando, Gearbox. There's a few others to close out the rest of the year. We might be done with summer festivals, but there's still, of course, the indoor season coming up. And of course, I have some events in the US as well. I'll be headed there at the end of the year. So next up for our announcements, before we close out the episode, I want to drop some codes for you guys to use. So like I just said, maybe festival season's over, but we got the indoor season now. So what are you going to wear? Do you need an outfit? You probably do. So first up is Shroom Beach. So you can use my code MCUnicorn20 on shroombeach.com and shop from amazing psychedelic swimwear and festival outfits. The best part of all is a portion of the proceeds from every purchase goes to support the Psychedelic Research Institute. So head on over to shroombeach.com, click the link in the description to learn more. And yeah, you guys can see some of the outfits, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, or head on over to my social media. Next, so you guys know by now, Relita Couture. I've been working with them for a really long time. You can use my code MCUnicorn to save some money at RelitaCouture.com. Relita Couture is a handmade rave festival fashion brand that's sure to make you feel confident and comfortable at your next event, in your next rave fit. The clothes are high quality, functional, and some even have pockets, which I love. The dresses with the pockets, so handy. A lot of women's fashion doesn't have pockets, so that's really great. So head on over to RelitaCouture.com because sexy has no size. So lastly, we have a couple more announcements, guys, a lot in today's outro, but yeah, just really excited for season 3. And I have just a million things going on to share with you guys. So lastly, please check out my second podcast, Ravers Revelations, with my friend Elena Van Wyk. This is exclusively on Patreon. This is the podcast where we read and react to your crazy festival stories. So we've covered topics like love, sex, festival pet peeves, after party stories, camping stories. So if you'd like to submit a story, you can slide into our DMs. You can message me anywhere basically with your stories for your chance to be featured on the podcast. Of course, it is anonymous. We've gotten some really insane stories. So if you guys want to hear them, please head on over to patreon.com/RaversRevelations or click the link in the description and become a Patreon today. So that being said, if you like to support me in the podcast, please give me a follow on Instagram at MCUnicornOfficial. Also follow us on Drop Bass Not Bombs NL. You can support the Drop Bass Not Bombs podcast for as little as 99 cents a month. That would be amazing, guys. Any little bit helps. Click the link in the description. So as I've said before, podcasting, it's an expensive hobby. It's not free. It's definitely not free. Between the hosting fees and equipment and software and all different subscriptions, required to make all this possible. Any little bit helps. And with your help, the podcast can grow. And hopefully, we can expand more platforms, maybe do weekly episodes, have a bigger team, have an actual studio instead of my at-home office. There's so many possibilities. But thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you for today. If you like the podcast, please leave us a review or drop a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you on Friday, October 21st. Bye.